I'd like to continue the line of questioning that was started by Chairwoman Rogers regarding the use of the Defense Production Act. You made it clear when she asked about this that the department was using it to collect information, not to regulate. But I want to be clear, the collection of that information is non-consensual, correct?
Thank you, Congressman. So we're using the Defense Production Act authority to issue a survey to ask industry questions. That's
right, but response to the survey is non-consensual. It's mandatory.
It is a mandatory questionnaire.
So my question is, the Defense Production Act was passed to give government some control of our supply chains in times of armed conflict. This seems like a pretty far cry from that. How does the DPA give the Department of Commerce the authority to demand that information from industry?
Thank you, Congressman. So as far as the particular legal questions, I would defer to kind of our counsel across the administration. Of course, we'll be gathering, though, information on kind of safety and security testing that will be kind of very essential to meet our nation's needs for safe and secure AI.
Wow. Okay, well, we're going to get more time here in a minute, but thank you for your response. I'll yield back. And point out, first of all, how egalitarian a committee can be when it's possible to move from the most junior chair in the room to the chair within a single hearing. Mr. Khan, just continuing our discussion about the administration's invoking of the Defense Production Act, you had mentioned in your testimony that one of the tasks of the AI Safety Institute will be to create guidelines relating to the detection and labeling of artificially generated content. And there's been a lot of discussion about requirements for watermarking of AI-generated content. Do you think that the Department of Commerce has the authority under the Defense Production Act to require that artificially generated content be watermarked?
Thank you, Congressman. The department's use of the Defense Production Act is an information gathering exercise. It's not actually an imposition of requirements to actually watermark technologies or kind of institute any other kind of actual regulatory requirements where there would be any kind of approval process. What it's really focused on is kind of a survey of advanced AI developers, and I would note, that the technical thresholds in the EO are really just for kind of next generation AI technology. So we're talking about a small number of very advanced, highly capable AI systems. We're kind of having an information gathering exercise. So that's essentially what we're doing there, and not a requirement for synthetic content authentication.
I understand, but I mean, you're imposing requirements on industry. And just to be clear, this isn't us necessarily disagreeing with the department's need to have access to this information. It just seems to me that invoking the Defense Production Act, an act that was clearly created with the goal of ensuring our supply chains in times of armed conflict, is not appropriate to apply to this particular domain. This is very different. And it seems to me that this is the administration usurping authority away from Congress. And we're going to get there, I assure you. We're working to try and create a regulatory framework for AI, and I have no doubt that that framework will also involve tracking and locating the accumulation of large amounts of compute, probably a know your customer requirement on the vendors of compute, certainly international cooperation for preventing the proliferation of malicious AI, all of those things. But in my opinion, the Department of Commerce has the authority to do none of that absent express grant of that authority from Congress. So I urge you to work with us and our colleagues in the Senate to let's together craft a framework that gives you the tools that you need. Don't just take them, because it's just not going to stand up to legal scrutiny. But thank you for the discussion. Dr. Tripathi, I wanted to have a discussion with you. You've had a couple of comments with my colleagues about the FDA's approval of it's all now almost 700 applications for the use of AI in medical devices, which is incredible. Just a few months ago, we had a health subcommittee hearing, the number was 400. So that shows you the pace of the technology. And I have to compliment you. I have frequent interactions with industry, and almost overwhelmingly, they say that the FDA is doing a great job in overseeing the use of AI. Thoughtful, engaged, involved, patient, safety-centric, all of the appropriate things that we want to hear.
I will let them know that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, well, please pass that along. Because we know it's not easy, and you're kind of, you're learning to build the plane as you're flying it. So obviously, the FDA has acquired some knowledge about this, but we've also been talking about the AI Act that was passed by the EU a couple of days ago. Under that regulatory scheme, a new agency is granted the authority to issue these licenses. So we in Congress are grappling with this decision of what to do. Do we follow the lead of countries like the EU, where we spin up a new authority and we take that authority away from the FDA, or do we have a hub and spoke approach where we empower agencies like the FDA? And a better way of asking the question is it easier to teach a new agency everything the FDA already knows about ensuring patient safety in medical devices, or is it easier to teach the FDA what it might not already know about AI? Which of these two paths do you think is appropriate?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly any decision along those lines would be an administration level decision. So, we would participate in that discussion, and and the administration ultimately will make those decisions. I mean, I will point out, and I think it's been recognized in the approach to the AI and in all of the the work being done in the AI Council, which is a part of the AI executive order, is the recognition that there are certain things that are government-wide and really important government-wide, but the sector-specific sort of factors are really important, and the deep domain experience and expertise that you need in each of those domains is very, very important. So I think figuring out the right model that doesn't break either of those is, I think where we're going to want to be.
Yeah, I think we're in furious agreement on that, and Mr. Khan will tell you from the NIST risk management framework, the risk of AI is very contextual. So what's risky in one context is not risky in another. But let me disagree with something you just said. The administration will not decide. We all together will decide what the appropriate regulatory framework is, and I hope that that's going to be a collaborative, non-adversarial process as we work through that over the next couple of years.
I stand corrected on that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Ms. Fu, I had some questions for you, but I'll submit those for the record. I'll yield back.